What are the tasks involved in developing a mobile app? Hey there, I'm Naveen, and today I'm going to talk about this sheet that you see right in front of you, which is a project plan listing the tasks involved in building a mobile app. I'll be sharing this plan with you in the comment section, and I hope it's going to excite you. So let's dive straight into it. The tasks on the plan are listed under four major categories, namely the UI, server, infrastructure, and miscellaneous tasks, each of which we'll be talking about in detail. First, we have the UI, which is the visual representation of your application. This is what your users will see and interact with. In other words, you can call it the aesthetics and the user experience. The tasks for the UI I have written down are screens. These are visual elements and effects that the user is going to see and interact with, and are developed using native elements or HTML components in frameworks such as React and Flutter. Now, before starting this step, you will need to sit down with your users and design team to create UI designs for each of the screens. Design is a bigger science, and I'm assuming you already have the designs ready. I'll cover UI UX designs in a separate video. Next is the routes, which determine how your app is wired up. In other words, it orchestrates transitions from screen to screen and controls which parts of the app are publicly available or secured and the general user flow in the app. Next, we have API stitching, which refers to the section of code that fetches data from the backend and renders it on the screens for the user to see. Additionally, this code processes the data entered by the user, which is passed to the backend for persistence using a post call. Next, we have authentication, which is basically the sign in and sign out process of the application. Users need to be authenticated using an authentication service, and the access token needs to be stored for use during API calls and decoding the user role. Next, we move on to the server, which is the heart of the application. If the UI is a visual representation of the application data, the server is where the business logic resides and data is persisted. The tasks I have listed while building the server application are as follows. And remember, these are high level tasks which can be broken down further into detail, which I'll discuss in a future video, but is out of scope for the current one. First is the domain objects. So before you start writing code for your server, you need to think about the domain model and the architecture. Domain modeling refers to how you will represent your business domain as software. Domain objects define how your data will be represented in the code. Architecture is the high level organization of your application and the interaction between the components. My advice is not to ponder too much about the architecture, especially if you're building an MVP, in which case you can follow simple monolith MVC architecture to build fast and validate your idea. The next activity I have on this list is the database schema. Here you define the tables in which you're going to store the application data and their relationship. Next, we have the API. This is usually the biggest part of the application development. And as all business logic, persistence, authentication rules are decided here. Then we have authentication and authorization, which is the access mechanism to the application built internally or using external providers such as Firebase. Authentication lets you in the app, but authorization decides on what you see or perform once you're inside. Now we have the application ready. So we have to put it somewhere where our users can see and access it. What better is a place than the cloud? So here comes our next activity, infrastructure. So first we have the cloud setup. So nowadays cloud is the de facto destination for hosting apps, and there is a plethora of options to choose on from, such as AWS, Azure, GCP, etc. People choose a cloud provider depending on the service options and the free tier or grants or credits that they have. Either way, most of them have similar configurations for setting up and comprehensive guides for help. Next, you have to set up the compute, database, and related infrastructure for each environment that you have. You must have at least a production and a test environment at the bare minimum. Next is to set up the CI/CD pipelines. Once you have your infrastructure ready, you need to set up your build and deploy processes which you can run once you have new code. These pipelines are responsible for deploying both the API code to the cloud server and the app code to the app stores. Next, you have the App Store setup. The next activity is to set up your app stores for Android and iOS. Google charges a one-time setup fee of $25 for the Play Store, and Apple charges a yearly fee of $99 for the App Store. So now you have a mobile app that's ready for your user. There are few miscellaneous tasks that will come up as always, and I've named a few in my next plan. Please note that this is not a comprehensive list, and you should do these tasks as per your project requirements. So first is a domain connection. You should have a professional domain that represents your company or business, which should be part of your API route. If you use providers such as Firebase, then you have to set up the project for use in your app. Now, most apps, but not all, will have SMS, email, and WhatsApp integrations. There are many third-party vendors providing these services, and if you opt to use them, then you need to cater for that integration work in your plan. And that wraps up what I had to talk to you about today. As I promised in the beginning of the video, I'm going to leave a download link for this sheet in the comment section below. I hope you have found this content useful, and if you need me to help you customize this in detail for your business, please DM me or book a call, and I'll be more than happy to help. In my next post, I'll be talking about another interesting topic in software development. So please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel to receive updates.